Welcome, everyone. This is Pine Leaf Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Krister.
Hello.
And Cinders.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to talk about a new update?
Yep. Indeed.
Good, because this week we had the release of Update 39, Arenas of Conflict. And this includes 3 new instances and a new raid. All 3 instances and the raid are available to play for anyone who has acquired Corsairs of Umbar. You can get more information about Corsairs of Umbar at LOTRO.com. You can open up the instance join panel by pressing Ctrl-J on your keyboard. And of course, they have various details about the instances. Now, one thing to note there, all of these are level 150 raid minimums, so therefore you can't go and try to run them at level 20 or anything like that. You have to be 150 in order to be able to run them. And this includes the streets of Rahalbach, from the apothecaries of Carndoom to Langstrand all the way to Umbar. Ingdadrigir, now known as Khashap, has been transporting a draft of the vilest make. We now grasp at his heels that he makes his final attempt to deliver these substances to his master. We will not fail. We cannot. Khashap must be stopped now. And the second one is the Isle of Storms. A great winged terror known to the people of Umbar as a roc has been seen attacking ships sailing off the Cape of Umbar, swamping them with terrible winds and plucking the hapless crew out of the water. The lords of Umbar have requested that you find the nesting place of the monstrous bird and drive it from the Shield Isles. The roc is believed to be roosting upon the deserted isle in the far reaches of the archipelago, once a haunt for pirates and brigands. Rumors say that they were driven out by a strange monstrous creature, far greater in size than any beast should be.
Okay, I want more information on this, because I thought the rocks were like the eagles. I did not realize that one was fighting a rock. That's like fighting the eagles. I'm sorry. Okay. I did not realize that's what that one was.
All right. Well, I guess not all of them are like the eagles, because there was the one that we met during our questing that was definitely a noble bird.
Yeah.
But
that's why I'm like, what on earth?
Oh, well.
Okay, maybe I need more details.
Right.
Just because they're noble birds doesn't mean they have to get along, right?
No, but they like to be treated with respect. Is there a reason? Okay, so I guess maybe what I need to know. So, when you're in that one, because I haven't done that one, are you fighting the rock itself, or are you fighting the strange and monstrous creatures so the rock can go back to its house and leave everybody alone? Because I'd be okay with the second version.
No, you fight the rock itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I won't do that one.
All right. As for the 6-player instance, that is Dahal Huliz, the Arena. The gladiator pits of Umbar Baharbel are an instrumental aspect of the Umbaran culture. The battles in the arena of Umbar serve many purposes for the city. Foremost, the arena battles entertain the masses. Second, the arena battles serve to mete out justice against the city's greatest offenders. Since taking control of Umbar, the Kindred of the Coins altered the arena's rules. Capital punishment and wanton death are a thing of the cruel past. Combat is now a sport for the masses to engage with and enjoy. Anyone can enter the pits to enhance their glory. The gladiators bound to the arena serve their sentences by entering battle and fighting to the end. These instances are currently available through Tier 3 difficulty and will unlock through Tier 5 difficulty at noon Eastern on March 21st, 2024. We're not going to go into a time machine in order to do this.
That was impressive.
Yes, so that will of course mean that we will have an update next week so that they could add the rest of the tiers to the instance, and we'll see how they're going on that matter. And we also have a 12-player raid, the Depths of Magda Corbo. After the confrontation of the Citadel of the Winds, the ship bearing certain members sails northeast into the shadows of the Magda Corbo. And so this is basically in the middle of Chapter 8 in the area, so I'm not going to read that too much on there. And this new raid is currently, although of course Crystal already knows how the raid ends, I guess. Well, close to it. Anyway, we'll get to that later. This new raid is currently available at Tier 1 difficulty and unlocks through Tier 3 difficulty at noon Eastern on March 21st, 2024. The Leading the Charge deed for these Umbar instances and raid will be available to complete until 3 a.m. Eastern on June 6th, 2024. The Depths of Magda Corvo will have deeds available at difficulties 3, 4, and 5. The other instances offer Leading the Charge difficulty at Tier 5 only. And Elder Slade delvings are now available. 71 missions available in Elder Slades are now available at delvings. Get started by traveling to the War Room in Corfu. Find Ozma and Horan. And to get started, read more about the delvings at LOTRO.com. And you notice they said that there are 71, even though there are 80 total missions available in Elder Slade. And that's because 9 of those they decided are not quite going to work with delvings. So, for example, there's one that has no combat in it. Obviously, that's not going to have a delving associated with it. And there's one where you're training dwarves, and we're not going to have delving difficulties and Sauron masses when you're trying to train some dwarves. So missions like that will not have delvings in them, but 71 of them would. And epic malices have also been added to the delvings. Read more in the release notes below. And speaking of which, let's get to the release notes. Unless somebody has a question about what I've read so far, because that was just the prologue.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good. All right, let's go. Then let's go into the classes and skills. All non-immediate combat skills should now have the fast skill tag. All offensive Fellowship-wide buffs across classes have been adjusted to apply to the entire raid. For optimized raid groups, this won't have much of a difference to your total possible damage output, but it should make it easier to organize players in groups without forcing a DPS everyone else split in order to maximize the power of these buffs. The one notable exception is Herald of War Buffara, which for technical reasons still only applies to the Captain's Fellowship. As Umbar instances arrive, many classes have had their damage or healing adjustments a small amount, we have details below, while a few specific classes and skills were overtuned. Most of these adjustments are broad buffs to the class's overall damage output. We may need to make some further, even smaller adjustments in the coming weeks, but the goal is to get damaging and healing output as close together as possible across classes. So with Bjorning skills were incorrectly configured to benefit from an inherent 15% positional damage bonus on initial hits. This did not benefit the second hit of any skill, so it was giving the target the benefit of a two-handed attacks, which only strike the enemy once. This has been corrected, and Bjornings no longer benefit from an inherent positional bonus on any of their skills. Bjorning damage has been increased 10% in light of this positional damage fix. Bjornings may now wield swords.
Whoa.
Are we going to now have as many complaints as there were when Bjornings were allowed to use bows?
Okay.
What's next? Forks? Sporks?
But is it going to stick out of their mouth? Or will it look like really long claws?
Yeah, their claws turn into scimitars.
Shing!
Yes. Aiding strike now tiers down rather than disappearing completely if it expires above tier 1. Encouraging roar healing increases by 10%. Nature's mend healing increased by 20%. Aid the assault maul healing increased 25%. Bash bleed damage increased by 50%. All forms of thrash now have a 0.3 second cooldown. Expose cooldown reduced from 6 seconds to 5 seconds, and Wrathful no longer reduces your crit chance as it approaches full. It will max out at 16% and stay there as you gain additional Wrath. Now, I don't think anyone here routinely plays a Bjorning as far as I know, so...
No.
So... Oh.
Say we do not, but I'm still stuck on the scimitar claws.
Today's episode is Scimitar Claws. Yes.
I've put that down as a title option.
Yes. Now for Brawlers. Brawler damage has been increased by 7%. The mitigation debuff for Shattering Fist is now a percent-based reduction rather than an armor rating debuff. Setup skills now grant 2 metal when used. Setup skill cooldowns have been reduced by 1 second. 1 for all cooldown has been increased by 30 seconds. Plant Beats hotspot duration decreased from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. Plant Beats hotspot size increased from 2 meters to 5 meters diameter. Plant Beat now tiers up every 3 seconds rather than every 4 seconds, and Plant Beat now has visual effects when placed. So a lot of changes to Plant Feet. And
what was that called again?
Plant Feet.
Sorry, I just want to hear you say it one more time.
Okay, just wondering. Okay. And the Shattering Fist legendary item Tracery now only increases the damage dealt by Shattering Fist and has no impact on the potency of its debuff. Anyone wish to comment on the Brawler? But I don't think any of us routinely play the Brawler at the moment.
I thought you were our brawler expert.
Oh, well, I haven't played it all that much since the Umbari update, so I've been playing the Lore Master, the Runekeeper, a little bit of Minstrel, the Warden, and the Mariner. It looks like I replaced my gauntlets with swords. Let's now look at the Burglar. Knives Out no longer taunts enemies hit. Knives Out now increases your melee damage for the duration. It does not reduce your incoming damage. The effect of Knives Out now lasts for 16 seconds, which is up from 10 seconds. Improved Knives Out now reduces the cooldown of Knives Out by 30 seconds. When specialized is the Mischief Maker, Reveal Weakness now reduces your miss chance and increases your evade rating, but does not lower the enemy's physical mitigation. Okay, now reduces your miss chance. Okay, I guess that's good, and increases the evade rating. Okay, but I don't see how this is reduced weakness now. Reveal weakness because mischances only apply if you're fighting against a higher level enemy. So that means if you're playing against someone at level, That's not going to have any effect. And evade rating just doesn't sound like it goes with something called reveal weakness. I guess it's because it's Mischief Maker and it's all about mitigations. But it keeps its current stuff what it does if you're in a different line. Okay, got it. Cunning Attack now reduces enemy physical and tactical mitigations by 3% for 20 seconds. Flashing Blades and Subtle Stab devastating criticals now correctly receive the same damage bonus as regular critical hits. Coup de grace offhand hits have received the correct bonuses to positional damage. When specialized and the Mischief Maker, Startling Twist will now apply minor rent armor to enemies. And Revealing Weakness can stack with at least 2 burglars up to 2 times on an enemy. Sounds like with exactly 2 burglars if it's only 2 times. And that's it for the burglar. Anyone have any comments on that? I don't think anyone here routinely plays a burglar currently.
No, I'm not a burglar player.
I mean, I do play Yo Burglar on occasion, but it's been a little while, and I have no trouble remembering what those skills do, much less being able to talk about the impact of them. All right, so let's go to the captain, because I know that we have someone who plays a captain here.
I think it's Cinders.
Yes, my captain is fantastic. Wears Shire Plum all the time.
Oh, God.
Power costs of some basic skills have been reduced slightly.
Hooray!
Herald healing skill, Lend Courage, and Lend Resolve were erroneously requiring and consuming far too much of the heralds on morale. These skills now have a much more appropriate morale cost.
Hooray!
Armor Rend is now called Armor Break and reduces the enemy mitigations by 3% rather than reducing armor rating. I have no idea what you think about that one.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel. I feel confused.
Okay. Blade of Elendil will now apply the Armor Break debuff.
Okay.
And Elite Companions now increase Herald health, power, and damage by 25%.
Ooh, nice.
Alright, so no complaints on the captain's side, it looks
Overall
like.
positive. Yeah,
Overall positive.
Overall positive.
Alright, so let's look at the champion. Power costs for many basic skills have been reduced slightly. This is a theme that we're going to be hearing much about on these. A number of champion skills have lower than intended critical magnitude damage multipliers, especially for secondary strikes and offhand hits. These issues have been corrected, and all skills should now have the appropriate 50% baseline critical multiplier on every hit. Champion damage has been increased by 10%. Blade wall damage has been increased by additional 10%. Fury of blade damage has been increased by another 5%. Born for combat damage has been increased by additional 25%. Born for combat now gives you a damage buff 1% per enemy hit, 10 max, 15 seconds duration. And Born for Combat now has a 15-second cooldown and does not require you to hit any number of times before it can be used. Wild Attack now correctly benefits from bonuses to strike skills, critical magnitude, such as that of the trait Deadly Strikes. Rend no longer reduces enemy mitigations. Blade Wall now reduces enemy physical mitigation by 5%. The Cardline Essence of Glory now increases Masochism mitigations by only 2.5%. Masochism now improves your mitigations by 5% by default. Rend Bleed damages increased by 10-30% greater increase for higher tiers. Battle Frenzy now has a default cooldown of 45 seconds, and its trace tree will reduce its cooldown by up to -7 seconds, meaning the lowest possible cooldown is unchanged at 8 seconds. The effect of Great Cleave no longer stacks with each other when Great Cleave is used twice in quick succession with the help of Call to Greatness. Several skill cooldowns were reduced by 0.2 to 0.3 seconds, and the Rend legendary item tracery now only increases the damage dealt by Rend and has no impact on Blade Wall's debuff. Now, my champion is only level 25, so half of the stuff is, okay, what did you just say?
Listen, mine is level 50 and she cooks. She doesn't go out, so I have no idea.
You're right, and mine fishes.
What do your champions do? Well, they are champions at cooking and fishing.
Yes.
Exactly. You don't have to be just a champion on the battlefield.
Right?
I am a champion fisher.
An everyday champion.
All right. Then let's go to Guardians, and I think we have someone here who could speak to these.
I have big feelings about one point on there.
Okay, so let me read these one by one, and then we'll hear when she explodes. All right. Power cost of many basic skills have been reduced slightly. Number 2. This one I think she'll take exception to. Guardian damage reduced by 5%.
That's the one I have big feelings about. We had so little, and then you take it even more. Like, ugh. Now it's literally like just sitting there beating on them with a pool noodle.
Well, I think you guys do so little damage now that you're actually healing them.
Sometimes that's how it feels because you can't keep burning them down. But on the plus side, I will never be in trouble for accidentally killing something too fast. You know, when they're like, stop beating on it, and the DPS has to like stop, and you're just like, I'm just gonna keep wailing on it. I'm like doing maybe 2 points of damage. They're healing faster than I can beat.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that one was strange.
And it doesn't say that it's like if you're traded a specific way, so I can't even imagine now like trying to do landscape content with my Guardian. Like, it was long before they did that. Like, I can't.
I thought your usual way of doing landscape.
Thank you for doing landscape with me, Tyler.
Yep. It was before this update where you were saying, no, I can't do any damage, so I need to...
Right? Like, you are sitting there pounding on stuff, and it takes so long to kill one thing that everything else respawns on top of you. And yeah, you're not dying, but you're also not getting anywhere.
Yeah, I remember that happening back when I was doing quests in the Wastes, back with my Warden, where I had pretty much the same experience on the thing, that I would literally see the previous thing respawn before I finish on an enemy in there. Meanwhile, I keep on doing this and being stuck here forever in combat with these two things that are going bouncing back and forth, and then a minstrel comes in and blasts them both to oblivion in one shot.
And you're like, hallelujah, now I can go 2 steps further into this thing and...
Right.
Yeah, sorry, that just seems like such an unnecessary change.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay. Specializing in the Keen Blade no longer suggests that you gain a passive bonus to response chain skills. The trait Numbed Senses now increases the cooldown of Ignore the Pain by 2 seconds for each tier. This is to balance the value gained from the additional effect removals and should improve cleanse parity with other tank specs in particular.
I haven't noticed that it made a difference.
Redirect now reflects and reduces less damage when used in the Etmors. This also affects the potency gained from the trait Vicious Rebuttal. And the critical defense rating from the bolster effect has been significantly reduced.
I haven't noticed that one either, even in the little bit that we did.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying any of these changes like have noticeable differences for the Guardian, okay?
Oh, in other words, 5% off of nothing is still nothing.
Exactly. I'm just saying it's that one particular one. So unnecessary. Like really insult to injury. Like, okay, fine. It's a good thing she can scream and be scary.
Yes. Now for the hunter. Explosive arrow now applies major rend armor when the hunter is specialized in the trapper tree. Alright. Like I'm going to remember that when I'm just fighting. Now the lore master. You're really going to love this one. Lore master damage increased by 15%.
Seriously? I love it for my lore master, but she wasn't hurting for it.
Lore master brooches and stick pins that give pet in combat morale regen, pet critical rating, and pet evade ratings have had these properties removed as they were not working correctly.
Okay, that sucks. And I'm sorry about your stick pins, Pinely.
Did my stick pins actually have those characteristics?
Uh-huh.
Okay. See how much I notice what's on my stick pins?
They did have those characteristics, but that's actually one of the ways that you can get a really buffed up pet like Lucky. Is by having your pet have those things, like wearing that when you call your pet. But I wonder if that means that just the new ones are having problems with that, or even the older ones are also having a problem with that. And if it's a bigger problem, then like if something got broken in it, because it used to be fine.
Yeah, I have no idea on it. I mean, does that mean that they were too powerful and they removed them for that reason?
Possibly.
I don't know, because I know that my pet, I felt like, did about 5 times as much damage as I did, though of course I am in blue line, so I would expect
and you
the pets to
usually
be
use cat pet, which does more anyways.
right.
Because the bear is more tanky. No, I'd be interested in talking to somebody who plays a lore master and pays attention to that, like Fineor, to see
what they think about it. Yeah.
Because I know that pets are a really big deal for your lore master, and anything you can do to help your pet helps you. So
Yeah, especially if you do blue line.
Yeah.
Benediction of the Raven now removes 3% tactical mitigation rather than 10% fire mitigation. Now, that's probably bad if you are pretty much pure fire, and probably good if you are more generalized in what your sources of damage. Because I know I do tend to like my lightning damage.
Well, lightning and fire are different, though.
Yeah, that's why that's what I mean, is because since now my lightning damage is going to benefit from it.
Yeah.
Because in the past it wouldn't have.
That's true.
Because it used to only be fire before. Yeah.
Well, and lore masters already have their tar that's fire mitigation too. I think it's a fire mitigation. It might be an everything mitigation though.
Yeah, I always forget about tar. I know I shouldn't be forgetting about tar, but I do have a habit of forgetting about it.
Yeah, to say the sticky tar should make them more susceptible to fire damage.
Okay. Catmint now increases the potency of your Raven's distraction debuff by 10% and does not impact the benediction debuff. Well, sort of moot since I don't tend to use a Raven.
Yeah.
Sticky tar now reduces physical mitigation by 8% in addition to its existing 10% tactical mitigation reduction.
Oh, so maybe it's just a duplication of tactical mitts rather than fire mitts.
Okay. So, yes. Okay, the major rent armor now reduces enemy mitigations by 12.5% after the more potent 15% enfeeble debuff expires, and Ents go to war damage has been increased.
Yes! that one's gone back and forth. When I first started playing, like it did a lot of damage, and then they were like, "Oh nope, nerf," and now they've increased it again. So that's good.
All right. Now for the Mariner. Power cost of many basic skills have been reduced slightly. And Breath of Fire, Fire Pot, and Jagged Knife damage has been reduced by 5%.
You might actually feel that, Pine Leaf.
Yeah, let's see. Fire Pot I might, because Fire Pot I use quite a bit. I think I occasionally use Jagged Knife. Breath of Fire. Actually, I do like Breath of Fire. Now, I never noticed Breath of Fire ever doing amazing damage in the first place, so I'm surprised that was being reduced. But Fire Pot usually seems to be a pretty good damaging thing, so maybe they were right in reducing that a little bit.
Yeah, they say you might feel that because 5% off of something significant might make a difference.
Yes, you got a point there. I see what you mean now. Yes, of course. As compared to the 5% of 0 damage that you do. Yes.
It's still 0.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Flick is now an immediate skill. Pitch Pot now reduces physical mitigation by 8% in addition to its existing 10% tactical mitigation reduction. That sounds familiar.
Just sticky tar.
Yes. The Remercant set Armor of Elegant Shanties now correctly reduces the critical chance of all enemies hit and correctly shows that it is reducing enemy critical chance. The Shanty 4 and Haste is no longer a toggle skill. When used, it will still ramp in potency like it currently does, but it will add a steady +3 forward pips every second. Okay, that's something. I've never really used that particular shanty, probably because the idea of turning on a toggle skill that would keep on increasing your forward in there, I think I would forget about at some point and then say, why am I constantly getting stunned? And also, the cooldown has been increased by 15 seconds to account for the time it previously spent toggled on before the cooldown started. And when a minstrel uses Call to Greatness, the breaking of Dream will be reset rather than guided by the stars. Ooh. So Call to Greatness effectively resets your cooldown on your Oathbreaker equivalent. And that could be interesting.
Oh boy.
Now, what does Call to Greatness affect on a captain?
It doesn't say in here, so.
No, it won't say in here, but I thought that maybe Krister would know.
I can't recall at all.
Yeah, don't worry. I never remember them either, so I guess that's no huge surprise. All right, so minstrels. Piercing Cry Dissonance, damage reduced by 15%. Piercing Cry Melody, damage reduced by 10%. Raise the Spirit Healing, increased 10%. Raise the Spirit's bonus heal given by raising our spirits is no longer a single follow-up heal. It is once again a short hot and will not overwrite itself.
And I have an answer on what it affects on a captain.
Yeah.
According to the LOTRO wiki, Call to Greatness resets the cooldown of key skills on the captain, Shield of the Dunedain, Oathbreaker, Shame, and at the 4.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, so it does reset Oathbreakers then. Alright, then Fellowship's Heart Healing over time increased by 15%. Initial heal increased by 5%. Triumph Spirit Healing increased by 25%. Cord of Salvation Healing increased by 15%. Power cost increased slightly for Cord of Salvation, Triumph of Spirit, and Perfect Ending. And Call of Army's mitigation debuff has been changed from a ratings-based debuff to a percent-based debuff, and now removes 2.5% tactical mitigation or 3% melody. This sounds like then that they buffed healing in minstrels and maybe nerfed their damage.
That's what it looks like. I don't think they would mind the buff to the healing, though.
Yeah, I think some people were complaining that minstrel healing was considered irrelevant or something like that. Well, and now for the Runekeeper. Runekeeper fire damage has been increased by 20%.
Uh-oh.
Runekeeper lightning damage has been increased by 35%. Whee!
Didn't their damage get mega nerfed before, though? Didn't the arcades get nerfed in a big way with their damage at some point? Not too long ago.
Maybe. Ooh, Cinders, you had something?
Yes. They still do healthy amounts of damage anyways. What is this? I'm sorry. Big feels.
Yes. Healing from Writ of Health has been reduced by 5%. So they seem to be going in the opposite direction than the Minstrel so far. Molten Runestone damage is now correctly improved by the associated trait in the Runestone healing and damage tracery. Writ of Lightning and Writ of Fire now each apply Weakening Writ when tiers up from minus 1% to minus 5% tactical mitigation. Writ of Lightning no longer reduces lightning mitigation specifically. Power costs of Static Surge have been reduced. Striking Words damage has been increased slightly. Do Not Fall now has a default cooldown of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and its related tracery only reduces the cooldown by up to minus 33 seconds with the legendary tracery. Runekeeper specializing in Cleansing Flame and Furious Storm will only have a Do Not Fall duration of 20 seconds, allowing you to revive an ally, but only if used carefully right before the ally is defeated. Do Not Fall will still retain its 5-minute duration for Benediction Runekeepers. I think that this is probably one of the more controversial changes. And in fact, as far as anyone knows, this was not on Bull Roarer, so it is a bit of a surprise to everyone when this suddenly appeared in the release notes. And Krister, since you're a captain, I take it you're often a recipient of Do Not Fall?
I am, yep.
And so, what do you think about this?
Well, I wonder if there's just a general push to kind of clearly define class roles so that that people aren't saying that the minstrels are irrelevant. The minstrels will be the best healers again. The arcanes will be best DPS, I guess.
Well, yeah, but you notice that this says that if someone once said RK in the party for Do Not Fall, they have to make the Runekeeper the healer, because only in healing stance are they going to have the full Do Not Fall.
Well, that's a hard one because, of course, that almost feels like the decision to take the full res away from a captain that isn't a blue line captain. So I wonder if they're kind of enforcing similar rules across all the classes.
Oh, yeah, I guess you got. Well, okay, the minstrels are the only ones who didn't get such a thing, but I guess they're trying to push the minstrels more into healing anyway.
That's what I was thinking, is that you got to go from minstrels healing is irrelevant to, oh man, we need minstrel healing.
Yes, we need a rally, yes. Yes. Molten Runestone damage increased and adjusted so that bonuses to its damage give closer to the real impact their values. Plus 30% Molten Runestone damage still won't give you a true 30% increase, but this change means its real impact is closer to 30% where it was before about 7%. And Rowling Verse now affects players revived by Do Not Fall this day. As for Wardens, or anything else to say about RuneKeeper before I go on?
No.
All right. Wardens, in addition to the power cost reduction slightly and all that, Warden skills initial damage, not dots, have been increased by 5%. Assailments and in the fray stance skill cooldowns have been reduced to 1 second, and marked and diminished target baseline debuff potency has been reduced from 5% to 3%. Alright, I think nothing too much to say about that. Though the change of stats, changing the cooldowns to be shorter is nice, because I've had times where circumstances where I'm in is I switch myself to a assailment stance, and just at the second I do that is when the enemy decides it's time to rush me. So now I am waiting for this. Now I had to wait for this long cooldown in order to get back into the proper stance.
Yeah, I think you're gonna appreciate that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna appreciate that, because that was very annoying, the length of that cooldown. Combat and monsters. Fix an issue in protecting the sea lanes Umbar mission wherein portals were usable in combat. But I noticed that whenever they did to fix this, they broke something else in that instance, because I noticed that protecting the sea lanes is currently closed. So it looks like they did not that something wasn't quite fixed. It could be that maybe sometimes it would glitch and the portals weren't working at all. I don't know.
That wouldn't be good.
Yeah, right. But I did notice that protecting the sea lanes is currently down, so it could be that this fix went a little awry. Well, if there's going to be an update next week in order to add some new tiers, then perhaps they'll have a fix for protecting the sea lanes then. Mounted combat. Minstrels and lore masters will no longer shout twice when using the Intimidate skill. Howling Grey Wolves and Veilfly pests near Kellendim have been adjusted to spawn at level 6 rather than at a higher level. And considering where you meet those Veilfly pests, I think they are more appropriate as being level 6. Several named worms in Forgel that were identified as warm worms have been corrected to be labeled as cold worms. Now, those worms, of course, they are in Forgel. Now, they are in these relatively warm springs, so I had always assumed they were called warm worms because they were living in the worm, even though they looked like coldish worms. I figured, well, they're warmer than the usual ones in Forgel because they live near these springs, but I guess no, that's been an error that's been in the game for how many years now?
I know. I just wanted to think about that.
I noticed that little thing probably 15 years ago.
All this time they were freezing.
Yes, I was just assuming that was intentional. Oh well. The lion and saber-tooth monster effects, festering wounds, have been given more obvious visual effects to indicate that this effect should be cleansed. Yeah, thank you on that, because I do remember that the first time I was fighting a lion, I didn't realize how important it was to cleanse that wound, and I think I eventually died because...
I don't know what that wound looks like. I just cleanse like you do, because that's how you stay alive.
Yes, but if you don't realize that, if you're in the middle of doing an instance for the first time, sometimes you might miss little details on what's happening on your character.
Wait, there are lions in an instance?
Yeah, in the Den of the Beast, which is the which I did with you. I remember doing that with you.
Which instance is that one?
That's the one where you. I try to avoid spoilers for Krister in
Is
there.
it an Umbar one?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, it is where we complete part of our mission that we were sent there for. Oh, how are you? How far are you along on the storyline, Krister?
I have.
Okay, that
Not
far.
progressed. So he's made it through the shipwreck.
I did.
Oh, you did make it to the
Oh.
shipwreck.
Well, yes, we took him through the shipwreck.
Well,
Have
you
you
did-
gone
In fact,
back
I think
to
you guys are the ones that wrecked my ship.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I'm sorry.
pretty sure we were not responsible. We weren't on the ship.
Well, that's what you want me to say, but I might dispute that with the insurance.
Nobody actually knows what happens. What happened? Our memories were wiped. We'll go with that.
How convenient.
How can you? Yes.
So, have you progressed past that point, Krister, or is that where you left off?
Yeah, that's the part where I didn't want to comment.
Okay. Okay.
So, we are going to drag you through the rest of it so that we can actually talk about it. Though.
Yeah.
Pilot?
Right.
It'd be very hard for us to do a review of the expansion at some point if.
Although that might be awesome. Who knows? To get my reactions. What do you mean we lose? What do you mean he betrays us?
As we go, just listen to Krister be like, "What?"
Yes. Let's go into crafting. Several crafted medium and light helms and gloves have had their names changed to better reflect their appearance. Weaponsmith polishes have been moved to the Luckstone category in the crafting panel. Umbar crafted burglar signals now properly make use of the critical crafting items for tailors. Fervent morale potions crafted by Umbar guild scholars have been reworked. Well, they needed rework, that's for sure. They were like, I hope they didn't nerf them because because they were rather pathetic before. They will now increase the healing received by players for a set time. Afterwards, they will be affected by a debuff that prevents the healing increased buff until it runs out. Okay. The 141 crafted heraldries now have a level 150 max on their set bonus. I'm sure that's going to make people happy. And the following crafted earrings have had their stats fixed. Handmade earrings of Tidal Fear and expertly handmade earrings of Tidal Fear. As for events, players can no longer exploit the last gate of the Forester event by going through in the opposite direction. Players now need to turn in the quest for the Forester event to receive their winner and runner-up rewards, and axes in the Forester event now spawn when the event is ready to begin. This should eliminate the exploit where players were getting the axes without an induction. Now, note, did these things do everything perfectly? I think not, because there was an announcement that the Forester event has been closed.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. So we'll find out what they had to fix next week if it's included in next week's patch.
The Forester event. I have a feeling it's going to haunt LOTRO for years.
Yes.
Reading through the comments on the closure, yes.
Yes.
It is not the constant closing, like, we're doing this, and no, we're not. Yes, we're doing this, and no, we're not.
You know, as soon
it's
as they
always
announced that they were doing a player competition of some sort, I think I had a bad feeling about it because it just reminded me of the old festival horse race. I can't remember how many updates that lasted before they turned it into a time trial. Because it was just more trouble than it was worth.
I think my favorite comment in the comments was, "I love Orion for putting so much effort and love into this event, but unfortunately, it does not work at all." I was like, that is a fantastic way to say, like, we appreciate what you're trying, but maybe let it go.
Let it go. Yes. Oh, well. Now let's go to items and rewards. New recipes have been added to the barter from the City of Umbar rewards. Quartermaster, the Cloak of Makta recipe, the Token of Umbar recipe, and the Serpentine Essence recipe. And Cinders, you looked at these, right?
They are there. They require stuff that you cannot currently get in-game, so at least not that I've seen. And some of them, it sounds like, from listening to other people and paying attention to people who are, like, doing delvings and stuff, like, if you're not doing delvings and you're not, like, ready to hardcore raid, you may not get the stuff that you need. So, note to self, make friends with people who do those things. So that you can be like, please may I have? I will trade you for fish. And then you can have the pretties.
Okay. Okay.
The items that you need are barter items, and as far as I could tell, there's no barter place to get them except for the ones that you can get from the delving people.
Yeah, I'll give you this stack of fish fillets.
I'm wondering if some of the things that you need aren't even going to be available until the raid goes to tier 3.
Well, that's next week anyway.
Because they don't have the reward vendors in. So, like, even if you had everything else that you needed or you had completed the raid, that you might still not get those drops until next week. So, right. Yes, the pretty new stuff is there for recipes. You can buy them. But you may or may not. Like, they're not gated by completing the raid or whatever.
Right.
But you won't be able to actually use them unless you have those items.
Okay. Newly acquired Adventurer's Loot Box gear for level 150 characters will now scale to item level 513 to 515. The Seafaring Adventurer's Essence boxes are now available for barter with the Adventurer's Quartermaster and have a chance to drop the Adventurer's Steelbound loot boxes.
And they do drop. I got one.
Okay. The Allegiance armor item, Elegantly Woven Shoes of the Eagle, have had their stats updated so that they are no longer the same as finely stitched shoes of the Eagle. The additional cloaks of LSR may be bartered from King's Gondor Quartermaster NPCs. Special Word of Craft traceries no longer allow you to equip Gundabad and Umbar versions simultaneously. You can still equip one incomparable and one legendary tracery of the same type, but you cannot equip a legendary Gundabad induction tracery at the same time as a legendary Umbar induction tracery, for example. I am wondering...
So you can have a
Why not?
Well, you can have a gold and a teal, but you can't have... But they have to be the same ones. So you could have like an Umbar gold and an Umbar teal.
Yeah,
but you
I am trying to figure out why, because it's not because of set bonuses, because I know that before, if you had an Umbar and a Gundabad one of the same set, they did not have the set bonus. I know that from personal experience, so I don't know why they needed to change it. Because it sounds like that was the only type of exploit you could possibly... Oh, maybe because of stacking reasons or something? I don't know. Oh! That could be it. That could
Uh,
be it. If you had two of one and two of the other, maybe they stacked in a way that was overpowered. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's a possibility. I had to remember what the.
Or it might be just to encourage you to use the ones for your level.
Yeah, that is, of course, another item on there.
And to
But if I
see
remember correctly, very often they had one thing added on one and one thing added on the other. Like I can't remember the set bonuses off the top of my head, but my one probably gave one bonus and the other, and four gives a different bonus. And then if you had two of the lower bonus, that might have been overpowered. That is my only guess. Is that if you had two of one, two of the other, is the case that they're trying to. I know the examples they give here too are one of each, but I think that the real thing that they're worried about are two of each. All right. Some Ost, Dunhoth, and Wildermore shields once again display at their intended size.
I want to know if that means that they're now bigger. So if my
Oh,
hobbit, if she can hide behind them, or if they're smaller than they were appearing.
Oh.
So now I'm curious about whether it was a scaling up or scaling down. Because
wouldn't be awesome if they were much bigger.
Yeah, I just thinking that they.
Cinder's
Cinder's hiding behind a Pavis, you know.
as they have him running around with the door, completely hiding herself behind it. That
Well,
would be great.
Umbari fees will now apply over any current trail food and cooking food buffs on the player. Personal use 2R food and feast now have the same priority, so you will receive the effects of whichever was most recently eating between the two. Now this one has had some people not exactly happy, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct. It didn't have some people happy, but for some people who don't really care about which one it is that they're using, like if you're not trying to get a specific thing from it, you just kind of want the general effects, I would still do the feast, because as far as I know, the personal cooked food still goes away when you die.
Yeah.
It doesn't last through death. And as a character that dies frequently, it's really helpful to have something that stays so you don't just burn through your food.
There might be a rare recipe or something. I know that in Karn Doom, that especially in the raid, that there was this recipe that would drop that had a combat persistent one. So it could be that they might add a similar thing through the raid for cooks for the Umbari level.
Yeah, if it was persistent, that would be nice. But if it's not persistent, it's like, just eat the feast.
Yeah, just go with the feast, yes. Umbari feasts are now correctly able to trigger both trail food and cook food buffs for brawlers. The map to Rosgabel will now be consumed on use. However, it has had its cooldown lowered to 10 minutes. Delving Hope tokens now last 30 minutes and persist through death, and does not apply to fellowships. To apply to fellowship, I guess just whoever used the Hope token. So those are the delving ones. And then VFX on the weapon aura of Elven Blessings was a bit overpowering. It has been slightly toned down. And that is the items and rewards. So let's go to the landscape. Underground marigolds in the Gloomlands have been brought up to the surface. Brightlet's flower in the old forest has been moved from inside of a rock. Now, I'm trying to figure out, is I had just done this deed, so it's obviously was possible to complete the deed despite that problem, but I guess it was probably trouble finding it, because I did have something to tell me, yes, the flower is this way, so maybe I just hit delete and picked it up and didn't think about the fact that it was beneath a rock or something. Either that, or it was only in certain circumstances where it was inside of a rock. A crate of supplies in Scarhold has been moved from the inside of a wall. The roving threats quartermaster in Angmar and Forgel, Kanach and Ostasant have traded appearances to be consistent with their locations. Tegwin Spurry in Trader's Wharf has gotten new hair. Yes. Meriador in Dol Amroth, King's Gondor, will now have a consistent appearance. Larry Grun has put her book away in order to fix her hair. I'm trying to understand the circumstances relating to Larry Grun that
Lots of hair related fixes this time around.
Yes. Ambassador Sparkhorth now looks the same inside instance the house forged anew as he does outside of it. Rhaegar's clothes in Herna's mayor's office kitchens are now the clothes that she was wearing the last time you saw her. The roving threats quartermaster in Angmar and Forgel. Oh, okay, they just repeated that one. Elizabeth Honeymead in the Coleman Waddle Inn is no longer sinking into the floor. Now, my question is, has she been sinking into this floor for the last 17 years, or is this something new?
Yeah, but it might have been subtle. It might have been so subtle we didn't even notice it.
Ah, well, of course, she is behind the bar in there, so it's possible that we just didn't notice it.
Well, maybe she was wearing like elevator shoes and she eventually just wore them down.
Possible. The defender of Oscar Ruth at the Aglain camp in the Lowlands is now standing on the ground. Okay. Sithgar in Osriman has calmed down a bit and is no longer kicking things. Thank you. Firgum in Osgalath no longer kicks the table between conversations.
Rats.
A lot of people seem to be taking care of their anger issues, yes. Baldman of Stoke in West Rohan now has a consistent appearance. Miscellaneous stuck spots have been fixed. Miscellaneous asset placement issues have been fixed. The Longbeard Stable Masters have been renamed War Effort Recruiter to reflect their role more accurately. And fixed a font problem in displaying the instant names of the Outer Gondor reflecting pool. Alright, any comments on the landscape updates?
Nope, they all seemed... I appreciate all the hairstyling that's been done across Middle Earth now.
Yes. Alright. Now for updates, really...
I said it's the important things.
Yes, important.
That's right.
Alright, now we have updates relating to missions and delvings. As we said before, 71 Elder Slave missions have been converted to delvings. 9 missions have not been converted due to delvings due to being incompatible in some way with the system. These following missions are incompatible: collapsing the old paths, because it's more about collapsing things than anything else. Burrowers of Hadrogient. Okay. That's where your main thing is to close up these burrows. The Sacrificial Tower. Maybe because of the fact of the verticalness of it. The Watchers of Iron. The 3 Wardens, another one inside the tower. So maybe it's like all the ones in the tower were done there. The Goblin Town Gauntlet. Sounds like the ones that are never ending are... don't have delvings. Probably because with the delvings in there, they would cause you to be slow enough that it would always trigger the next one. So it would be impossible to finish the instance, perhaps. Invasion of the Red Horn Pass, another endless one. Training for Glory, that's one where you're training the dwarves, so delvings with when you're training allies seems a bit off. And Goblins at Stravarth, which of course it doesn't have any combat whatsoever. The delving White Archer now uses range skills at range distances and does not default to melee skills. Okay, makes sense. added travel skills to the Bloody Eagle Tavern in Umbar and Delving Quartermasters for Delving Writs. So now you can get it for Delving Writs. And these skills can be used from level 20 onwards. And I should add that the versions of these skills that you can get from the quartermasters for the other two quartermasters, the Order of the Eagle and the Ledger Keepers, those are also down to level 20. So that means, yes, it is now a lot easier for lower level characters to make it to the Bloody Eagle Tavern. Though I'm sure some people are saying, well, now what about a certain Swain Hall? The travel skills available from Delving Quartermasters to Anakrofu in Elderslade have had their items levels lowered to 20, and to allow lower level characters to venture into missions there. Okay, that's good. Actually, does that mean that they moved those so that it now brings you inside? Because I know that the Anakrofu. Oh, okay. Probably the ones that you get from the Delving Quartermaster probably put you inside. That's the only thing I could think on there. Okay, in mission, aiding the bridge builders, the builders now have hammers in their hands that they also use as weapons. I forgot what they were using before. Actually,
Their lunch.
Yeah, because it makes sense because they have hammers in there because they are rebuilding a bridge, and that's what they have in hand when the drakes attack. So I guess they have dual use hammers, I guess. Elderslade mission givers can now redeem completed delving quests and give delving weekly quests. Elderslade missions have had changed from a 10-day schedule to a 7-day schedule. This change was made alongside the delving missions conversion so that the delving variants could appear in each mission, because they wanted to make sure it was something that didn't have a common anything, no common divisor with, no common factor with 6. So therefore it was 10 and 3. They both be divisible by 2, and that wouldn't work out very well. Now they also added something called Epic Malices. Epic Malices have been added to Delvings. These are Malices that affect you and the space itself. These Epic Malices will appear on Tier 9 as part of the reordering of Malices. We are launching with 3 Epic Malices, and more may be added in the future. Epic Fervor. Epic Fervor. Your fervor and intensity grows with each enemy defeated. For each enemy defeated, gain a stacking damage buff. Buffs stack up to 10 times. So that one actually helps you. Epic Tempest. Storm clouds form in the space, spawning every 45 seconds and roiling through the space. There are 4 possible storms. Storm of Fire, which does fire damage to you and your enemies. Storm of Lightning, which does lightning damage to you and your enemies. Storm of Healing, which heals you and your enemies. And Storm of Protection, which grants armor buff to you and your enemies. So this is a bit of a neutral one, since it affects you and your enemies equally. And Orc Tunnels. Orc and Goblins have been digging under your feet. Orc tunnels will pop up into space every 90 seconds. 1 orc tunnel will spawn per player. Destroy the tunnel or it will spawn at a random delving orc or goblin every 30 seconds. As for delving malices have been reordered, we aim to do this periodically to keep delvings fresh and showcase new combinations of malices. With the addition of delving epic malices to tier 9, malices previously there have been moved up to tier 11 so that every delving tier now unlocks a new malice. The adorable Sandworm and Grabby Crab pets are now available from the Delving Quartermaster for Delving Writs. A Delving Quartermaster has been added to a Narkafu War Room. Players can now barter for level 150 essences and crafted tracery recipes from Delving Rewards NPCs. Sauron's Defense 2 now reflects 30% damage instead of 45%. Sauron's Defense 2 is a corruption, and when removed will no longer re-adds a lower tier of Sauron's Defense. Lingering Fear now subtracts 50% of incoming healing, down from 90%, and has a cap of 2 effects at once of a player. The Delving Malice's Encroaching Shadow and Slime Puddles 2 have had their base effects increase slightly. And the following Delving Malices have had their capped number of effects per player reduced. Disease Clouds 1, Disease Cloud 2, Firestorm 1 and 2, Poison Puddles 1 and 2, Slime Puddles 1 and 2, Encroaching Shadow, Explosive Devastation 1 and 2, and each effect has been reduced from a cap of 3 to 6 effects to a max of 2 effects per player. Gnawing Cold and Persistent Cold attacks with 1-hour player debuffs have been removed from Elder Slade mission monsters. Thank you very much.
I feel like you have feelings on that.
Yeah. Have you ever dealt with that particular debuff?
Yeah, it totally stinks. Yeah.
Yes, okay. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. The only time where I didn't mind it too much was in Gundabad, because in Gundabad, when you exit a mission, you come out of the mission right next to a campfire, so you could get it off at least. But just about anywhere else, it is annoying as anything. The Throne of Tharazar Elder Slade mission now correctly lists Hremel's Chosen as the mission twist. On a mission weekly and on a continuing mission weekly will no longer bestow twice on legendary worlds like Treebeard. Only the version awarding the Motes of Enchantment will be available until the level cap matches that of the live worlds. Yep. Not that it will make much of a difference, because they'll probably only have a few months left on the server once that happens, right? The Elder Slade mission, the Sacrificial Tower, now correctly lists Reinforcements as the mission twist. Delving mission givers no longer reference Karaskelebren or Sarkvorn the Black Gate. Thank you very much. I was getting really annoyed when they keep on mentioning that. The Ballisti in the Elder Slade mission Assault on Ashmar Zarach now shows destruction visual effects when destroyed. Added polish to mission A Life's Work. I guess we're going to do a Life's Work at some point and we'll find out what kind of polish that was. The mission twist for Burning Shield is now a corruption and is removable by corruption removal. Has a max stack of 3. And the portal at the beginning of the Ill-Fated Cave Umbar mission no longer allows passage while on that mission, as it is only intended for use during the Dig Deep Cape of Umbar quest. And that is good, because I once accidentally went through there, if I remember correctly. And that's it for mission and delving items. So now let's go to quests, deeds, and adventure areas. A new chapter of the Song of Waves and Wind is now available at the Harbor Warden's Tower in the Sailhaven. 6 new quests are now available in the Angle of Mythathiel. Begin these quests by speaking to Ivoreth along the road west of Tham Lumren. Yes, I actually did find her on that. I need to take one of my characters through that quest line. I do have a mariner right at that level for doing those quests, so I'm going to work through there, maybe get a little bit of extra experience through there, since I'm slightly behind the rest of the group in any case. Fix the graphical glitches that occurred when Legolas dismounts from his horse during the instance Allies Unexpected. fixed an issue in the Cape of Umbar quest, a pallet tide, wherein billboard counter announcements were not appearing for all objectives. I'm sure people were crying over some of them not appearing. Because right now, my biggest problem is that there are just so many that they lag so behind everything. Ulanor should never have been attackable during Blood of My Blood, either when visible or invisible. Now she's not. There have been numerous fixes in the drama sequence. Adjusted the placement of crates for the stacking game in Farouk Zahar to eliminate some graphical issues. Mithril travel to Faron in Argonite, the return to Saragosse should now send you to the correct location. Adjusted the phasing of Ayaluk in Rakatab if you help someone with part of his quest aligned without having started it yourself. And Worm and Corsair Slayer deeds in the Cape of Umbar will now count more enemies in this area.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. That was like my lore master. Was it my lore master? One of my characters. Oh, actually, I think it was my warden. When that's when the recording thing is, I was going through there and I killed a crocodile.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a new deed. New deed. Worm and
count now?
What?
Crocodiles count now.
Yeah, crocodiles count now.
Yeah, because remember when we went through there?
Yeah.
And it was just those like 10 on that one beach by Kutra?
Right.
Nothing else counted.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But now crocodiles count for that deed.
Good. Hopefully so do the other worms that you find around.
Yeah.
That's good. That will make life much easier for everybody else trying to do those.
All right. And it also said for the Corsair, because apparently there are also some Corsairs that weren't counting either. The quest bestowing items for Reflection of War, Call of the North, and Angmar Reborn Prologue are now destructible, which brings them in line with other similar items. Oh, that's right, because I've had this thing from Reflection of War in my inventory ever since Rohan. Was it Rohan? No, or yeah, I think it was back in Rohan or something. It's somewhere around there. I can't even remember all that. But so it's been sitting in my inventory for years. I haven't been able to get rid of it. So, thank you. I had now remembered to actually destroy it. The Kalindar boss you encounter during the instance Misabandoing will no longer fight with an invisible sword. Arid Mithrin repeatable quests can now be reset for Mithril as well as those West Gondor repeatable quests, Lothorian repeatable quests, Gundabad repeatable quests. Also, the Lothorian repeatable quest, A Rebel Too Far, can now be reset. Oh, and that one also was for Mithril. West Gondor fishing repeatable quests can now be reset by Mithril. Sounds like there are a lot of these in here. Daily and weekly mission quests in Gundabad can now be made Mithril resettable. To aid in your allegiance progression, Mithril travel to Faron for Argonite of the return to Saragosse should now send you to the correct location. Didn't they tell me that one already? Adjusted placement for the the Pelakir King's Gondor quest, A Cure for Weariness, now rewards players with level appropriate lamb hot pots. The drama sequence at the end of the mission, the Joruka Clan Chapter 8, has received some polish. Arwen will no longer disappear from Imdolin above Rivendell when she departs for the wedding. Players working on the Court of Lothorian Allegiance will still need to speak to her in Imlad Galar, but now she will be more reliably present for early game. The bestowed text and objectives in the quest of the war effort needs you have been updated for accuracy and clarity. And also, I should note that they reissued these, they versioned it. So therefore, I notice that whenever I log into a new character after the update, I get the new version of the War Effort Needs You, even though I probably finished it a long time ago. Made some adjustments to the would-be shantyman to make Animat's quest objectives more clear. They were a little bit on the unclear side, I have to admit, on that. Because I think we're trying to figure out, now, were these opponents we're supposed to try to fight or something like this? And I think the first time I did that, it took me forever to figure out what on earth was she wanting me to do. Corsairs!
Well, anybody named the Shanty Man is the greatest enemy Middle Earth has ever faced. So,
all right. Yeah, I can see one quest that you're not going to be doing. Corsairs in LOTRO and the rest of Tarling's Crown will now count for the deed Corsair Slayer of Western King's Gondor and Corsair Slayer of Western King's Gondor Advanced. Yeah, I thought it was a little weird that they didn't count. Goats and deer in King's Gondor West Belfalis were incorrectly classified as belonging to the Blackroot Vale.
I'm not saying I'm going to complain, because that did help us get through our deed. But they still... So reading through this, though, it doesn't sound like they've fixed the ones that fix the bugs in Umbar that are still showing as being part of King's Gondor.
Yeah. There might be one or two little things. Maybe they will...
They've caught up with a few of them, but
yes.
not all of them.
Oh, well. Then adjusted the directions to the crossing of the Airway for Epic's Volume 4, Book 3, Chapter 3, Fearless. Two previously remotely bestowed quests in Harwick, East Rohan, pushing back their advance and quench the flames, are now bestowed by Sergeant Hubert. Both require the quest Prisoner of Oakosh to be in progress before he will offer them to you. Hobbit and Elf Allegiance instance quests that previously appeared in the quest log under Allegiance Kingdom of Gondor will now appear in the correct categories. Mounting quests that hunt the proto-creatures is now properly set to Small Fellowship. The Town Crier in the Belfalis housing area now properly allows you to enter the session play for the April Fool's event.
What is the April Fool's event?
Let's see.
I don't know that I've ever heard of it.
I'm trying to remember what it was because I think I tried it last year, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it was.
Well, I know what I'm doing on April Fool's.
Moss monsters within Shakalish the Stair battle can no longer be slowed. Aww. Now, PvP! The new Entmore's food and buff scroll effects will now properly remove upon leaving the Entmore's. Note that they should not be removed if you lose connection or simply relog within the bounds of the Entmore's. It's only if you actually leave the Entmore's where they are removed. Several monster play traits and effects were granting higher than intended values for in-combat regen rates. These have been corrected and now give you the intended values. This also impacted the morale and power values from imposing presence and the vitality debuff from the Curse of the Lethargic Heart. The free player morale bonus from 17 Audacity in the Entmore's has been reduced from plus 50% to plus 40%.
Okay, so I haven't done this since the changes happened, but Boo to the monster player reduction, and yay to the free player one. Seems like it makes it a little more equitable for free players to have less of a morale bump. But, you know, it never hurts to have in combat regen rates that are good when you're the monster player.
Income and
Just
power restoration in the war rations is now closer to standard food, i.e. CPR. Many Warren's consumable items now have larger stack sizes. And Freep outgoing damage bonus from 17 Audacity has been reduced from 1.5 to 1.15. No, 1.2 to 1.15.
I will applaud that change.
We know which side she fights on in the Morse. Alright, miscellaneous. Emotes. River Hobbits now produce trumpet sounds when performing the /trumpet emote. The Yule tunic and trousers and all appearances that use the same model now show feet slot cosmetics when worn with shoes for Bjorning, Racing Man, and River Hobbits. Boots that are too tall will be hidden, and instead the outfit's default shoes will be displayed. Feet will no longer disappear.
I bet you the people with those particular feet are going to appreciate that greatly.
Yes. The Brockymoorings provisioner Sancho Chubb in the Shire has had that title added to his character. After 17 years, the disposing of bottles in the Midsummer's Festival quest, A Cure for All Ills, now has an animation. Remove the extra sound effects that was playing during the instance the Fellowship departs. All Bjorning traceries should now correctly have a chance of dropping from random tracery packages. Certain versions of the damage vulnerability properties had their tooltip description mixed up. Melee versus ranged versus tactical. This has been fixed. Fix a bug causing auras to sometimes not display on acts of the Shadow King. Neighborhood task boards have been adjusted. Level 140 tasks are now on their own posting. The placement of some of the postings have been adjusted so that the levels of the tasks align with the task collection box below them. Thank you! It's always been confusing on that one. The Bloody Tavern vendor Aklam's map notes have been corrected. Neighborhood task boards now have tasks for levels 141 to 150. Thank you.
I still want to know if they really have tasks for 141 to 144. I don't think those exist.
Oh yeah, that's right. We should check to see if such things actually exist. You're right, because they don't actually come back to one. Right, because
145.
Yeah, because it used to be one. You had to be at least 145 to do it. And while it might make sense for the Umbari ones not to be available to 145, the Gondor one should be available at 141.
Yep.
Players can no longer rotate while using the Epic Lecture emote, which was previously breaking the effect. And several translations for NPC occupation titles have been updated for the French and German clients. Now for the known issues, and these are items that we hope they'll be able to fix these up in the next update, since I'm pretty sure there's going to be an update next week so they could have those higher tiers of the instances out. There are a subset of items that grant statistical bonuses beyond those designated level ranges, and in the near future we will adjust these items from granting prior statistical bonuses once the listed level range has been reached. Shield of the Hammerhand, Earring of the Dead City, Empowering Earrings of the High Elves, Focusing Earrings of the High Elves, Weightless Earrings of the High Elves. In other words, basically anything that you have pulled out from a pre-order package. And we expect these changes to arrive in Update 39.1. Additional note, added later is the items will remain available for use, but apply a diminishing return to the statistical benefits at the level cap where experience or currently bonus would end. This means that you can continue to use the item, but it can and should likely be replaced by more potent items obtained through playing higher levels of the game. This was effectively to prevent you from using these pre-order items forever, because apparently in some cases they were the best in slot that was available at level cap, and that was not their intent.
That is true for some stats like Vitality, especially before you could get the flickering Seafarer's essences.
Right.
So if you were dependent on a stat like Vitality, it was definitely being used.
Yes.
Because I know I had to think carefully when I unequipped mine.
Yes. The mission, Protecting the Sea Lanes, is currently unavailable due to a bug. We expect to reopen this mission in a future game update. And that is it for the release notes. That took only an hour and a half.
Wow.
I'm not complaining.
All right. Well, one other thing is, as I said before, the Forrester event is once again closed. I know. Now, grand shock to everyone. Yes, all sorts of course, responses to that in the thread, because, yeah, that seems to be one of those things that just has trouble with it. So let's go into our store sales. Cinders, what's on sale this week?
On sale this week, it is Determine Your Discount. So you can save up to 30% now through March 21st, 15% off any 5 items with the code DISCOUNT15, 20% off any 3 items with code DISCOUNT20, 30% off any 1 item with the code DISCOUNT30. Says make sure to activate the Determine Your Discount coupon on the character you wish to apply the discounted item to. You can also, and this I don't believe stack, go there and back again and get 25% off of Milestone Skills, Hurried Traveler, and Returning Traveler skills, which are fantastic if you aren't a hunter or a warden.
My warden is even invested in those things.
Yes. So they're fantastic for getting where you want to go fast.
Yeah.
Advanced riding traits, rally horns, also through March 21st. And the weekly coupon is a free skill and Slayer deed boost ×1. The coupon code is SKILLINSLAY, SKILLNSLAY. Now through March 21st as well.
Whee! Well then, let's into our week in gaming. Krister, what were you up to? Were you going into the depths or anything like that?
Well, we plunged the depths, the darknesses, the deeps, the under things, the things that are underneath, the under thingy bobbers. And look at this. Look at this. I'm making backslashes everywhere. I'm sorry.
Yes, I noticed that.
I'm trying not to. Okay. Yeah, so we did the new raid. We went into the depths of Magda Korba. And we had a blast. We had a couple people who had done the raid once before, and so they had some ideas about tactics, and we effectively executed our tactics. We got compliments on the tanking and the healing, and then we got to the last boss, and we did not succeed. However, it wasn't a matter of us not succeeding. It was really a matter of just it being late and people weren't willing to give it another run. We felt like our tactics were very sound and we're looking very forward to the next run. So it was very successful. Everybody was pretty excited. And it's nice to see that people are feeling like their characters are getting up to snuff, because, of course, this is we have to consider that this is story mode now,
Yeah, and
and
that
that
is
we
what I'm
have
wondering.
to.
Is it really felt like story mode?
Well, that I mean, I think we need to feel that out because, of course, it was straightforward. It felt like it was straightforward for us to do it, and so is the disconnect there once more that it was easy as pie on story mode, and then when we get to tier 2, we're going to get smashed to bits
Well,
by
yeah.
by a wall, by a framed portrait. So, so that's still feeling out. Although, yeah, it felt very straightforward. But I guess what's cool about it with story mode is, if anything, you can at least try to kind of figure your tactics out before you hit T2, because that's when it's going to become crucial. The one thing that stood out too, and this is kind of what I'm interested in exploring, is that there were several moments where it was much better to let the Guardian just solo tank a situation as opposed to me off tanking it. And so we kind of adapted to that right away. But I'm really curious to see now if we put 2 Guardians in the mix, and then I'm a blue line captain with my full res traded, what kind of difference that could make too. So, anyways, just excited to see all the possibilities. What's really cool about this too is we have had a lot of our original people return, and so the guild is or the kin is active again, and that's a great feeling all by itself. And other than that, got up to ESO. I've been hooked on the Arcanist now, getting addicted to the green beam. It's just inexplicable. I figured it out though. It's like you're your own little Death Star, and you just fire things and they blow up. And it's it's about as close to the feeling like Darth Vader as you can feel, I think. And so I've been enjoying that quite a bit. And then I'm getting ready to bring my new computer online and replace my old computer. I've had a 1080 graphics card that's been a trooper, and I've loved it, and I've had no problems with it, but all the modern games are now, it's dying horribly trying to run them. So now I'm upgrading to a 3080? 3090? So it should be a significant upgrade, and this is the RTX, and I got this one specifically finally for to run the Minecraft RTX.
Okay.
The ray tracing, and it was incredible. The ray tracing stuff was incredible. To see I had a friend that used to do ray tracing where it would take 3 days for his computer to render a single image, and now you're seeing ray tracing done in real time. So it's pretty staggering. So, anyways, had a nice variety of stuff for my gaming week. And Cinders, what did you get up to?
So on Sunday afternoon, I played Stardew Valley with Sans. We have started a new farm together. We have not gotten a chance to revisit it later this week like we had planned, but we will get there. And then I played some Pioneers of Pagonia. This time I tried it with the Thieves and Barbarians, and actually it has some really fun little mechanics with that. Like the fact that your soldiers can't actually attack the thieves until they're out of disguise, so you have to train like specific types of soldiers to actually be able to tear the disguise off so that they can actually do something about the thieves. And so the thieves are like you could watch them do this too. Like they'll walk in and they'll just pick stuff up and walk off. And the barbarians, when your explorers get close to them, they don't even have to like fight them. They'll just like roar at them, like they'll put their arms up and make faces, and then your little explorers will go running away as fast as they can. Yeah, so it was amusing. In ways that games like that aren't often amusing, and because I didn't actually have to do any of the fighting myself, I was just like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. It's more of a kind of an automating game, and then you just kind of watch them do their thing. So I did try that, and that was fun. I haven't beaten all of the goals for that, but I did think it was interesting trying it with the hostile environment there. And then as soon as I realized the Spring Festival had gone live on Wednesday afternoon, I logged on and I got my 150 Shire Plum dies.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I am so happy. And I was telling Piley, I was like, oh, maybe this will tide me over until this time next year.
In one fell swoop, you destroyed the entire Shy Plum dye industry. They're all gone. More. There's nothing left.
I could have gotten more, but I decided that maybe 150 was sufficient to get me through till next spring festival. And then I tried the streets instance with Pine Leaf, and we discovered something that I'm sure many people have recognized, just like both in real life and in game. But bombers are not fun. Fire bombs dropping on you that you can't see coming because there's no induction, and Pine Leaf was barely keeping himself alive. My guardian did better, but we were running all over, and they don't go out quickly, and you can't like get away from them and like eat food or whatever. Anything that has to be done out of combat, you can't get out of combat with them, and you can't do anything to stop them. They're completely immune because they're a mechanic in the game. You can't crowd control them. You can't harm them. Like, you can't burn them down. Nothing. You just have to deal with them and then outrun them. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, get out of range, yes.
Needless to say, the last couple of days when I've gotten on and pilots were like, what do you want to do? I'm like, not an instance. Definitely not an instance. Because that was pretty intense.
Did we do the arena together?
No, we did not.
Okay.
We did the one instance, and then I was like, I need to be done.
Okay.
So, yeah, by the way, what did you get up to?
All right, my lore master completed the new chapter, and I also ran all of the solo versions of the soloable instances. Thus, I ran the solo version of the streets. I ran the solo version then of the Isle of Storms, which was doable on a lore. I think I noticed it was a rather tough one back when during the beta one in there. Lore Master is able to get through it pretty easily. I'd say that I'm suspecting that my other classes are going to have a much tougher time, especially with that last boss. Because that last boss can be really, really tough on that one. And I also ran the arena there, so that went pretty fine in there. So that was doing them solo in there. As Cinder says, I did a duo version with her on the streets. Then last night on Friday Night Fights, we were planning on doing the raid, but we only got 6 people that were 150, so we decided to run the arena. So we ran the arena there, and we fought on there, and we managed to successfully complete the instance in there. So then we thought, well, if the raid is story mode, as they've been saying, then maybe we could see how far we can get in the new raid with 6. I was thinking, well, maybe we could make a little bit of progress in there. You know, probably not be able to finish it or anything like that, but maybe we could make some progress through there. And I'm seeing that, well, apparently what the devs call story mode and what I call story mode are two completely different things. Because our 6 people, the boss would just look at us and we would just all melt away, and within a minute wiped out the entire party. And that happened 3 times before you think, okay, fine, we're not making any progress on this. So we said, all right, let's forget about that idea. So then we decide, hey, what would happen if we ran the arena at tier 2? And
I have a feeling I know what happened. But
yeah, we got through the first round of the battle without any trouble. Then we came to the first boss. And let's just say that we did not have a group that was tier 2 ready. I think is probably the most diplomatic way to put that. Which is probably not all that unusual since we're talking about Mythgard and we're not talking. Ploy probably would have had too much trouble with it, but yeah, a bit of a challenge for Mythgard on the Madison.
Well, and of course, if you're not ready for tier 2, you find out very quickly in a tier 2 situation too. So
yeah. So therefore, we decided that okay, in the future we will stick to tier 1, and then after that, because we had done arena 1.5 times and we attempted the raid and all that stuff, I think after that it was time for people to leave. So 3 people left, and so that left us with 3 remaining. So we ran the 3-player versions of the other 2 instances. So we ran Streets and we ran Isle of Storms. Streets was pretty straightforward, I think. It had more mechanics and was of course tougher in the 3-player version in there than it was on the 1-player version, but we managed to get through it. And that's where I learned that the Isle of Storms is just as tough on the 3-player mode as it is on the single-player mode. So we managed to we barely got through the boss. The first boss, I think, without too much trouble. Second boss was a bit tougher, but we barely got through there. Then came the third boss, and that third boss is rough. As we were fighting the third boss, we were fighting storms and all this stuff because Isle of Storms, so obviously we're also fighting storms and all that stuff. We're trying to okay. What's immune, what's not immune, and all this stuff. It was difficult trying to keep up what is, and I was just being tossed around like a football all over the place, and I could barely have a chance to start inducting before I'm going to be tossed again, so I wasn't doing anything all that good, so I eventually got knocked down. And our minstrel went down, so we were down to our warden. And we're saying, okay, how long does it take our warden to go down? And I know even when I am playing the warden, I sometimes just get amazed at how sometimes a tanking warden is just somehow able to survive the impossible. And this was another case of that, because somehow going down and up and all this stuff, getting down to just this tiny sliver of morale and power left. It looked like it was impossible to get through this thing. Somehow must have popped Never Surrender or something like that just at the right time or something. And then everything just crept back up because of the popping of the Never Surrender. I mean, he must have knew how to time Never Surrender perfectly, because I never could figure out the right time to pop that. So he must have popped it perfectly, came back up, looked like Pie after being beaten down and eating his spinach, and came in and was able to finish off the last boss. So we managed to finish that off after 3 attempts on that third boss. So yay!
Hooray!
And then finally, my warden started the new chapter and reached the point in the story where it says, now if you're planning on doing the raid, this is the time where it fits in the storyline. Well, I don't think my warden's going to be doing the raid anytime soon based on what happened on Friday. And that's it for my week in gaming. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotraplayers.com. Players Alliance has 2 shows each week. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we record LOTRO Players News and re-record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You guys choose for shows at lotraplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.